Hello, and welcome back to the Broken Past. A few weeks ago, we attempted to tackle the Backlight and Bivert mod on this original Game Boy, and overall it worked, but there were a number of issues. The biggest one being that I had screwed up and put too much flux on the solder pads for the backlight, seeped into or between the layers. So ultimately, it was okay. It worked, kind of, but it could have looked a lot better. And so I looked online for ideas on how to fix it, and somebody suggested separating the layers and cleaning them, and then using some sort of adhesive to put it back together. So I tried that. Tried using some spray adhesive, and that actually only ended up making the problem worse. I'm not sure how well that'll show up on there, but there's all sorts of dots all over the backside where the adhesive is definitely uneven at this point. So it worked. I mean, overall, it kind of worked, but I'm not happy with the result. So I ordered another backlight kit from Handheld Legend. So we're going to look at swapping that out today. This should be a pretty quick process because I've already done all the legwork. I just have to remove and solder in a new backlight. So we'll do that, as well as I also bought a blue LED to replace on the power indicator. So I figured the whitish blue backlight with a blue LED might look pretty nice. So while we're in there taking care of the screen, we'll go ahead and do that as well. So this should be hopefully a quick process. I've learned not to assume anything when I'm working on this, but we'll hope this will go fast, and this should be an easy thing to do, and hopefully make the end result a lot better than it is right now. So we'll go through our standard process of taking everything apart. So there we can kind of see the wire job I did to run a jumper wire from there to a touch point on the back side. So the Game Boy still works even after that beginner mistake. And now we have all of these screws on this board to take out. At this point, I feel like I could almost do this in my sleep. I've taken this one apart so many times trying to fix that issue with the backlight that I messed up on that it's a lot easier now than it was the first time. Move that out of the way. And once again, we're back to the screen. So 2 more screws. And we are almost done already. Just going to go ahead and turn on the soldering iron. Let that start warming up. And here we have a hopefully undamaged backlight. So while we're waiting, go ahead and get the old backlight out. Throw that in there to make that easier to get back out later. And I ran out of solder on one of the last jobs, so I picked up a new roll, I guess, of solder. So hopefully this stuff will be okay. And we are not going to use any flux this time. The solder should be rosin core, so it should still have some flowing properties to it to keep the solder from balling up. There we are. So let's see if we can tin these pads without flex. There we go. So it doesn't feel like it flows quite as well, but it will still work for what we need it to. See if we can do this left-handed here. And there we go. Simply slide it back in. And that part of it is done. Put our screen mounting screws, I guess, back into place. Now, while we have it apart, we're going to go ahead and do the LED swap. So, I'm going to start by, see if we can see it on here. So this LED is using the through-hole connectors, which is awfully close to the, I don't know if this is the sound or the volume, or the sound or the contrast potentiometer. It's awfully close to that, so hopefully that won't be an issue. But yeah, so it's a through-hole LED. So I'm going to start by adding a bit more solder to these pads. It always helps to, some of this older solder has a really high melting point, so mixing it a little bit with some of this other additional solder will help to hopefully have it melt a little bit easier. And for this, I will put a little bit of flux onto the wick here to see if I can use it to help soak up just a little bit more of that solder that's already on there. I definitely need to get me some higher quality solder wick, but for now, this will do. And now the hard part is going to be getting the LED to come off of there while, oh, well, that wasn't too bad at all. Let's see if I can get a little bit more of that solder off of there now. No, melted a little bit of that tab, but not an issue. I line these up. There we go. So the easiest way to install an LED is to looks like this is just a little bit wider than the other ones. Just to push it in, and then just bend the legs out just a little bit to help hold it into place. And then drop down some solder. And I think I put the LED in there the right way. Hopefully I don't need to take it apart and do it again. And then just come back in with our flush cutters and cut off the excess leads. But before we can actually put this back together, there's one more thing we need to do, and that is that we need to replace the resistor, which I believe is this resistor here, R1, to account for the difference in power draw on this LED. So we are going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and first of all I'm going to go ahead and clean this screen off because I got some flux on it with it upside down. Actually, I'll do this. We're going to kind of follow the same process for removing this resistor by adding a bit more solder. Try to add a bit more solder to those pads. I might actually move that back off of there. Which I actually think I might have been putting solder on the wrong component. Let's try that again. I feel like that was actually a little tougher than the LED itself. The resistor itself, it doesn't matter which way it goes in, so we can just pick a side and drop it in, although I have a little bit more solder still in that hole. It's not really a huge deal though, so I think we can just heat it up and slide it on in. This is where having something like a helping hands or a little device to hold onto it would be helpful. But I'm just going to cheat, drop it in that way. So now we've got a hole in place. the same thing here. Just bend the leads out of the way. And we can drop some solder down. There we go. And we're good. Go ahead and turn the soldering iron off now. I'm going to assume that we did it all right. Use our flush cutters again on the leads. And it's time to put it back together. So I'm going to give it a quick wipe. Try to get some of the fingerprints off of there. And begin the reassembly process. Hopefully we did everything right, and this will be the last time that we have to open it up. Because I feel like I've done enough with this Game Boy. I'm ready to move on to a different console. I had the first video of repairing it or getting it working, a second video on cleaning it up, video on the Backlight Bivert mod, and now a video on fixing what I screwed up. So let's hope this works and we can be done with this thing. Let's throw some batteries in. I'm going to go ahead and just assume everything works. So I'm going to close it up. Put a game in. Let's fire it up. And that looks awesome. With the blue power indicator and the blue backlight, a clean backlight without all the spots, without all the wet spots as well from me dropping flux in there. And yeah, I just think it looks awesome now. Finally happy with how this turned out. Yeah, I guess I really don't have anything else to say beyond that. So I do like the blue LED indicator to match with the backlight. Kind of just a fun final touch, I guess, for it. So going back to the original video, thanks again, Adam from Retro Repairs, for giving me the challenge. I hope I finally met your challenge, and I hope I exceeded it with adding some little stuff like the little blue LED power indicator. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.